Okay, back from the hardware store. Got some more Windex. As a matter of fact, I'm so tired of buying Windex, I buy the industrial size. It's cheaper that way. It's only $7. So, what we got going now? So I got 1,000 grit sandpaper, and we're going to give her the once over. We're going to give her the business. And I don't know about the ultra fine setting, but I went ahead and put it on the fine setting and see how that works for the video. So, take my shirt off, get prepared. I won't show too much of this because it's just labor. It's rather boring. But I shoot the Windex on. That's the liquid that I use. And this is 1,000 grit. I'm going to sand the whole airplane with 1,000 before I wipe her down. We're even going to sand the center a little bit with 1,000 just to knock it down, knock any of the stay off the ribs or you'll sand through, then you'll have a problem. This isn't really a detail sanding. This is more of a finish sanding where because I'm not trying to take any material off really. I'm just trying to smooth what I got out. Take a paper towel, wipe it off, make sure it all looks flat. And it's not a real big deal to sand out with 1,000. It'll only take maybe 45 minutes to an hour to do the whole airplane. That's one side. Do the other side. It is moving material because you can see that the liquid is getting gray. Now, one of the reasons why you got to be real careful with polyspan is if you break through anywhere, you'll have hairs come up, and then you got to add so much dope to get them hairs to stop growing. So just a once over with 1,000 grit in the open base where you don't have any primer on it. More water on there. It starts to drag, you know, you don't have enough lubricant on it, so we might get to spray today. I gotta take the motor out of it. I gotta get the canopy taped up. So we're at least an hour or two away from spraying any color on it. it's already taking on that solid feel, like a polished piece of wood. And that's what you want. That's a good thing. Very difficult for me to teach the art of sanding on the internet. But once you learn how to sand and what grits to sand with, and I'm still learning, I mean, it's all practice. It becomes a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. Goes a lot quicker. And this rag is full of gray material, so I'll do the top, cut the camera, and then I'll do the bottom. Then we'll come back after I get her all sanded and taped up, taken apart, ready to paint. Now this fuselage has 600 scratches in it. Now you wouldn't think, well, 600 don't leave scratches. Yeah, it does. Well, because we're going to do such a thin finish on this, I want to get those scratches out. So that's why we're coming back with the 1000 grit. And 1000 grit, when you got it right, the material looks polished. It doesn't look sanded. It looks shiny. And I suppose you could go down to 1200, but I don't think it's any more necessary to sand before shooting color on with anything less. You know, you don't need 2000. 1000 grit's funny, because we're going to fill those scratches with the paint. And then we'll sand the color with 1500, then 2000. And as I was turned on by Jim Lynch, to 5000 grit sandpaper. And trust me, that 5000 grit sandpaper, it makes a big difference in your finish. I wouldn't think that it would. You know, 5000 grit's like rubbing it with a piece of notebook paper, but trust me, it makes a difference. I went right through the paint there. You're going to have to stop to hit that spot with some primer. If you don't think 1000 grit will cut, trust me, it'll cut. It will cut. Can't believe it went through there. Oh well. Alright. One more piece, then I'm going to cut the camera so I can listen to television. Sand the bottom. Come back when I have it taped off, taken apart, and ready to paint. Hey, guess what? I'm still sanding. Well, let's clean it off, see what it looks like. Oh, I gotta get this side here yet. Remember, I'm not trying to move any material off of this. It's all been sanded down with 600. I'm just trying to polish the scratches out of the 600. So we don't have to put much paint on it to make it look nice. Remember what I told you about hexavalent chrome? It's 50 millionths thick. Well, that's what we're trying to do with this model. We're trying to make the surface smooth so that when I airbrush that, all we want is coverage. I don't want a ton of paint on the surface. I just want to. Obviously, it'll be thicker than 50 mil, but 50 millionths. It'll probably be around 2 mil. I get a lot of questions about finish, and finish is sanding. Are you willing to sand? So we got it sanded off. We're going to go around again and wipe the top off here. No sanding, just wiping. I go through a lot of paper towels, a lot of Windex. By the way, the blue towels I'm using come from AutoZone. I guess you can get them just about anywhere, but they're made by Scotch. They're the best painting paper towel you can get. They don't leave any scratches, they don't leave any residue. Real absorbent. They're rather pricey, but you know, when you're building a model and you want to figure in the total cost, you also got to figure in the sandpaper, the tape, the masking paper, the thinner, which is a big cost. You can figure $50 minimum for thinner, and you wouldn't think that, and it didn't used to be that. We went to the store. This airplane has a red stripe here, and it has 3 stars on each side. Well, when I was a kid, I used to be able to get these stars from a dime store. Well, I think they were a dime. Now they're $7. It's ridiculous. So we'll get the stripe taped off, put those stars on, paint it red. When the paint dries, peel the stars up, then we'll have white stars underneath. The only thing I could think of, because I'm obviously not going to sit there and tape out each one, and I'm sure Tom didn't either, so I'm thinking, because we used to be able to get those at Woolworths, 5 and dime. I'm thinking that's what he probably used. But I haven't seen the airplane in many years, so I'm not exactly sure, and my memory is just shot. I couldn't remember that if I had to, so we'll simulate them with those stars. Now, I had that spot there I told you about. I sanded through. And let that dry, and I'll sand it with 1000 and smooth it, and that'll be good enough. So that's good. Now let's clean this side. Yeah, I think we're going to start painting today. I want to see it in white. I've heard people using Prep-Sol and salt, I don't know, all kind of cleaning solvent. Best thing for it's Windex. Leaves no residue. I think it's alcohol based, so it evaporates 100%. So I'll go ahead and pull the motor, tape off the canopy, sand the, I gotta still sand the underside. Got a spot on that wheel pant that needs fixed, but we're not going to worry about that today because that's really not included in the main paint job. I normally paint those separately, so. I see a spot in the nose that a spot of wood is showing through at the plywood. You don't want that. If it's showing through the primer, it will show through the paint. So I gotta hit that with a little bit of primer and resand that out so we don't see it. But the primer's starting to take on a shine now, and that's a good thing. The primer's shiny, the paint will be shiny. So I'm going to shut the camera off. I would say give me a couple of hours to sand the bottom out, tape off the canopy, get the flaps off of it, and make sure they're 100% sanded and ready to go. Kind of detail all the little primer spots, make sure that we don't have any bare wood showing through, because if you do, when you hit it with dope, see that, this spot back here that I sanded through and hit it with a little primer is basically gone now, so that'll be good. So we've got to detail everything out. You're not going to add a whole lot of weight by spotting little spots. But we'll get that done. I need to get some self-etching primer for the spinner, because you want to make sure that you sand the spinner. If you're going to paint a spinner, you want to sand the spinner, self-etching primer first, then the filler, primer, then the paint. Got to keep it thin or it'll crack. The paint will crack around where it goes together. So I'm thinking about doing like they do when they chrome it. I'm going to tape off that lip so that I don't get any paint there and have to worry about that cracking situation. I don't know if that'll work. Never done that before, but they do it while they chrome, so I don't see why it wouldn't work while you paint. So anyway, I'll be back in a couple hours when I got it ready to paint, and I'll start painting with the airbrush. So see you in a short. Well, guess what? I'm still sanding. Got one coat of paint on it. There's just no way that I could run the camera and paint at the same time. I just don't want all that overspray on the lens, so you're just going to have to forego that I did paint it. I got the fan running up here, but it doesn't pull it out quick enough for me to really feel comfortable that it's not going to get white overspray on the lens. I painted the cowl, first coat. It's got a few spots in it I'm going to sand up and touch up. And this is the first coat on the airplane. And of course it's got a few spots I'm going to touch up. Just, you can't get out of it. If you look here, well, you can't really see, but there's some hair sticking up from the polyspan. When this dries, before I give it another coat, I'll take the 1000 grit and knock those hair off, and then paint it another coat, and they'll lay down. So, out of this quart, it actually wasn't a quart, it was a pint, and I filled it up. It was that much dope. Then I filled it the rest of the way up with thinner. One coat of paint, so this is 1 pint actually, unthinned. 1 coat on the airplane took less than a pint. So 1/4 of a pint unthinned and less than a pint thinned. So we're down to about here right now on 1 coat of paint. And it's not going to get a whole lot more white. When I'm done with this can is all the white it's going to get, so I have to stretch it. I'm just not going to put that much white paint on an airplane. It's just too heavy. I don't know if it picked up any weight. I mean, there's just no way for me to tell at this time. I'll have to get it all back together and get it on the scale. Obviously it's going to pick up some weight, but I don't want it to gain any more than 2 ounces in color, in the white. Then of course I'll put the blue on it and the red stripes and the checkerboards on the bottom. That will hide a lot of the, it doesn't have to be solid refrigerator white, because these other colors are going to detract from your eye. But I do need to make sure all the light spots are covered and all these hairs are sanded off and sealed up. And then, of course, the clear will also aid in that sealing. But you don't have to put just gobs of paint on an airplane if you have it prepared correctly. And it turned out pretty nice. The fillet area here blends real nice. The canopy is blended real nice. So I feel that after this sets up and I hit it with 1000 grit and knock off all the high spots and go over just the spots that are light, I think we'll call that good and go from there. Because I want to be able to see through the wing. I don't want so much paint on it you can't see through the wing. So I'll be back when I have something more to report. There's not a whole lot to show on painting the airplane. I mean, there's no specific tricks or anything like that. It's just get the paint on as easy as possible. So that's what we got for now, and we'll see you in about an hour. Well, the second coat has been applied, and it's drying now. I took 1000 grit, knocked off the hairs, shot a second coat on it, Um, it probably could use a third coat, but it ain't going to get it. We used a half a pint to paint this so far. I have about this much paint left in the quart can. I don't want to put any more weight on this thing, so it is white and it's all covered, so that's what we're going to go with. And hopefully the trim colors will, cover up or detract from any of the light spots, but it's really not light anywhere. Pretty even. I'm pretty satisfied with it. If you want a refrigerator white airplane, they're going to weigh 70 ounces, and I just don't want that. I'd rather have it look respectable but fly well too. So that's what we're going to run with, 2 coats. And later on this evening I'll demask the canopy, look at it, just make sure there's no spots that I need to shoot real quick before I demask the canopy. And if there is any spots, I will selectively shoot a spot. Like there was a spot on the backbone back here in the fuselage, and I just shot one extra pass there. But we're not going to spray the entire model, because you can still see through the wings, and that's what I want. I don't need an airplane with 100 coats of white paint on it. So that's what we're going to run with. Coming out very nice. We certainly don't want to ruin the airplane at the final stages by adding 1 or 2 extra coats of paint that it didn't need. So I'll put it together later this evening. We'll see how much it weighs, we'll see where it balances, see how much clear I can get on it. I still have a little bit to go on in trim colors. I would say probably an ounce in trim colors. And then clear, and I don't want any more than 2 ounces of clear on it. That's a lot of clear if you ask me, but we'll see. I've heard somebody say you can spray a gallon of clear on and saying it only gain an ounce. I ain't buying it. So anyway, I'll go ahead and post this up, show you guys where I'm at. There's not going to be nothing more tonight because I'm waiting for parts to dry. These parts here, the elevator stabilizers, elevators and the flaps will be painted separate, just like I did with the cowl here. The cowl come out nice, clean. Like I said, I just don't want a ton of paint on it. So I'll post it up and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, I couldn't show the actual painting of the airplane because it just was too much overspray, white dust in here. So I put 2 coats on it and it gained 1 ounce. 2 thin coats was 1 ounce. And I know I was going to post this before, but I decided that I would put it together and weigh it to see what it did weigh, and give you a look at how the canopy and cockpit turned out. And it turned out real nice. Of course, it gets cleared yet, and it gets the trim on it. I do have to paint the wheel pants yet. I did not paint those, for the simple fact I have some more sanding to do on them. But overall, I mean, it came out pretty nice. There are a few spots that I'm going to touch up, but not many. So I'm very happy with the white, and it should turn out to be a real nice model after I get it trimmed, and the leaf and the ink on it and all the clear. It should be real good looking. So this is day 29. In 29 days we ended up with an airplane on its wheels, painted, and probably in another week it should be in trim and finished, and we'll be on to our next project. So I'm going to post this up and look for the real fun parts tomorrow and the days following, the trim and the inking, and of course I can't show you the clearing because it's just too dusty in here. But the cowl turned out real nice. Everything, you know, in my opinion, turned out real nice. So I'll post this up and we'll see you on the next reel. Until then, stay tuned and tight lines.